Check. All right, you guys are going to let me know how all this sounds because this is all new stuff, and I forgot the power cord to my laptop, so it could all crash and burn at some point. No. 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate it. If you can hear me loud and clear, this is a brand new machine here. You know why I like this machine? Because it has all these new things. And I'm going to do the show like this today, everybody, just so you know. This is how my
voice is going to be for the rest of the show. So welcome to Wahoo Willies, everybody. And we have a great
show lined up for you tonight.
And we have the vice mayor joining us in place of the mayor. And we also have the town
manager. So no, I won't do that to you guys. So we had a major malfunction yesterday during the show, and then I lost the power cord to the laptop. And I really only have one job, and it's to make sure this small piece of machinery works here. So is my wife joining? We have our brand new 7th anniversary tank tops here. We're having our 7th anniversary party, yes, at the Margaritaville Pool on August the 10th. We gave away 200 passes to the pool for that event. Let's see if your microphone works here. Go ahead. Number 2.
Yes, and you have your new fancy smancy board.
I know. She says, no, don't go out and buy the board. I'm sure it's something with the cords. So she starts playing with the cords. And, the thing is out in the heat all the time, and we're moving it around. And I'm sorry? I know, right.
Because
I know.
We do.
Yeah. No, she just doesn't want to spend the money. That's what it is. She says, meanwhile, she's on Amazon.
You have no mechanical skills, so I feel like it's possible that it's fixable.
And you're on Amazon, and there's like 14 boxes showing up every day for Amazon for a grandkid that we don't even have yet, or so.
Well, you have to prepare.
And then what she does is she leaves the boxes on the ground in the house, and we have a puppy. And the puppy likes to chew boxes and chew into boxes. And so it's a whole thing going on at our house.
We've lost a few. Yeah. And then we had that unfortunate delivery. I don't know. I posted it on my Facebook page, but I don't know how you deliver a box that's ripped with holes in it and think that the receiver of that box is going to be like, yeah, that's great. I imagine what's inside that box is fully intact and fine.
All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about today. Big issues going on here at Fort Myers Beach. And we want to thank the crew from WGCU who came down and interviewed us. You're a lovely station over there. And I don't know when this will air, or it'll be a while for it to air. And everything that they interviewed me on will be completely cut out. So that's just the way it rolls. And here is the vice mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Jim Adderholt, and the new town manager, Will McInerney, will join us for the next hour or so, or until we run out of power. And we have we're going to save these issues till after we have the big discussion about FEMA. We have an update on the Catholic Church that many of you have been asking about. We have an update on Santini Plaza that everybody loves to hear. So we'll save those for the end. And welcome, Will and Jim. Thanks for coming.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Check,
Yep.
check, check.
Yeah, there better be no feedback.
1, 2,
This
3,
thing
4,
better
5.
be perfect.
Check, check, check. Check, check, check.
Okay, better? Yep,
Yes.
better.
Go ahead.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Do you guys?
Well,
Hello?
something went
Hello?
down there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
It's
1,
a
2,
new
3, 4,
toy
5.
for him. See, sir, I told you, mechanically not
Test,
inclined
test.
here. There we go.
All right. I think we're all on now, although go ahead, dear. Start it off.
I'm not starting it off. Well, Jim, it's been a while since I've seen you. So how are you?
We're doing fine, thank you. We just had our electrical room replaced not replaced, but renovated in our condo building. So we were out of the place for about 3 weeks. We had an emergency generator that kind of struggled along for us for 3 weeks, but we finally got that work done. And I was kind of thinking the other day when that documentary came on, Survival Mode, I was in our building, and it was the night before the power was supposed to be changed over and turned back on by FP&L, but we weren't sure if we were going to get power. So while I was watching the documentary, I'm filling up buckets of water so I could flush the toilet. I'm filling up things to put in the freezer for blocks of ice. As we're watching the Ian documentary, it was a little surreal.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
Little surreal.
parallel universe
Yeah.
there. And how are you doing, Will?
Thank you. Doing very well. We're getting settled in very nicely to our new home over on Avenida Pescadora. Really enjoying settling into the neighborhood. Great neighbors, and getting my feet on the ground.
All right.
So-
Oh, you have hit the ground. To say that you have hit the ground running is an understatement. You have hit it at like Mach 10.
Well, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, even with the challenges that we have, I like to solve problems and help people in the community solve those problems, and that's what we're trying to do.
So
Well, that's what we're going to be
let me say
talking about
before
today.
let me say real quick as an introduction, Ed and Kim, that not only is Will here, but his wife Deidre is here. My wife Brenda is over there, and also our deputy mayor,
Deputy
Tracy
Town
Cole.
Manager.
Deputy town manager. I guess I'm the deputy mayor.
She might not want that promotion.
She may not want that demotion. And then her husband Stefan is Stefan or Steven?
Stefan.
Stefan
All
is
right.
here as well. So,
all right.
and
Now
but
that-
let me just say real quick
Oh,
too. because
geez.
Here we
I
go.
was just in a meeting the other day with Will and Frankie and Tracy, again our deputy town manager, and Frankie's kind of our director of operations, if you will. And it's really wonderful to see the synergy between those three, the chemistry. They're all supporting each other. The transition from Andy was incredibly smooth. And we have a really core senior team. And then they've got department heads who are legacy department heads who have really gelled well with this new team. And I'm very encouraged by that.
Okay, so if it's okay, if we could just
Let's
get
hit it.
right into
Yep,
it.
let's go.
And by the way, everybody, the mayor, this was a planned day off for the mayor. Nothing happened during the week or anything. He every once in a while takes a day off so him and Megan can go do stuff with the dogs or whatever. And so we talked about it after the show last Sunday. And every time he takes a day off, we ask the vice mayor to fill in, and he does most of the time. If he's in town, he does. If he's out of town on vacation, he doesn't. So that's the only reason that Dan's not here. And we always love when the vice mayor comes in because we get lots of great updates. So this past week, the report came down from FEMA after their visit on July 15th through the 17th, I believe. And it kind of set off a wave of communication that the town had with the community and questions about where the whole thing is going. So there were a list of 252 properties that nobody knows who they are, I believe. And that need to be rectified by not September 23rd, by August 8th, according to FEMA. I guess I should just shut up and let you kind of take it like,
Is there a question in there?
where are we, Will?
So yes, I appreciate it. I want to start off right there with the list of 252 properties because breaking news, I just did get an update yesterday late from FEMA that I can confirm with property owners if they ask us and want to know if they're on that list, we can confirm to them. So that's a clarification from what we released just a couple of days ago. We cannot release the whole list because it contains a lot of personally identifiable information. But if the property owner does reach out to us or the business owner does reach out to us, we can confirm with them they're on the list.
Okay, before, just to follow up on that, because I had made a post that said if you wanted to find out if you were on the list, to contact the town, but then the town said they needed to go to FEMA at an email address, which meant they would have never heard back from FEMA. You would have had a,
That was the first feedback we got from FEMA, and we got clarification a little bit later. Now, I would add that if they do want the list, if everybody wants the whole list, they would have to request that from FEMA.
Yeah.
We
I don't
can't do
think
that.
anyone wants the whole list. I think they want to know if they need to
If
do
they're
anything
on
to
it.
their own property.
Mhm.
We can answer that.
How do they call? Who do they call?
Well, they can call our normal line, 0202, and they'll get Donna or a receptionist to answer, and they'll direct it to either Frankie's department or to, they can also, email me just, and ask me the question. I'll get them the answer as fast as I can. It may be, I just go ahead and say some of the feedback may be a little underwhelming as far as the reason that they're on the list, because we're still trying to work through that with FEMA on the different compliance, the issues that FEMA is looking for. So for trailers, for business trailers, for residential trailers, and there are also about 100 additional addresses or locations on that list that have nothing to do with trailers. They have to do with planning and permitting and zoning questions.
Okay.
Let me just ask, when they were here and they were going around, was someone from the town with them that could ask questions on the spot about stuff, or no?
Yes.
Okay.
So we planned for weeks ahead of this visit. And one of our kind of going-ins that was non-negotiable for us is we wanted to be side by side with FEMA
Yeah.
representatives while they were driving around the town. They agreed to that. And for the about 2 days, 1.5 days that they were driving around the town, we had representatives from our either zoning and code team or from Frankie's planning and development team with the two FEMA teams that were going around the town as they looked at properties. In many cases, as they looked at properties.
Nope.
You still hear me?
No.
Yeah. Okay. As they to answer your question more specifically, Kim, they had their computers with their FEMA data up,
Right.
but our team had our computers too with direct access to all of our databases, and we're able to answer a lot of questions on the spot in
Okay.
real time. Not all, because obviously there's still some remaining questions that came with the letter and the list that came to us, but we're working through all of those one by one now to answer.
Yeah,
So-
because I mean, some of the things that might have been not like like if there was a trailer that was there that isn't a regular trailer, a work trailer, did someone say,
Yeah, here I just
So,
I want to add
yeah,
just
go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
little color from the.
a little
Are
color?
we okay, Ed?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
keep
just a
going.
little color from the letter that they sent. They said you referenced the tour, Kim. It says a field tour was conducted to capture potential violations in the floodplain. So the 252 list, if you call the town and you find out you're on that list, you're not necessarily going to receive a notice of violation. That list will be taken by the town and investigated on a case-by-case basis
Okay.
to see the status of each individual case. So if you're on the list, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a notice of violation, because to your point, Kim, there were lawn company trailers on that list. There were some odd things on that list that I think, the town is going to clarify before sending out any kind of a notice of violation. Is that fair? Is that fair, Will?
No, that's absolutely correct.
So if people are getting, I think there's a lot of panic.
Sure.
Yeah.
And reasonably so, that just maybe tamp that down, that things are going to get investigated.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I could add too that so yeah, we saw the initial list when it came back with photos of many of these trailers, some business trailers like landscaping or construction trailers that we know are only here for the day and then they're gone, and then also some people's utility trailers, that might be parked in their driveway that have not previously been an issue with us and as far as compliance. I'd also like to address. And I'd like to say thank you for Heather and you guys for hosting Heather yesterday. I found her story very, very compelling, very
yeah.
good. And really, we do appreciate moms and all the businesses like hers on the island. And so now they are identified on the list, and many like them are identified on the list. We are operating from, just like everybody else, the previous standards of, movable by a light duty truck, registered and licensed. They've got their trailer on their property, or they have permission to be on the property. They have a plan and permit, application with the town.
Right.
And there's a few other things in there as well. I think everybody is well familiar with. We're continuing on the assumption that those are compliant. Right? That's how I'm operating. That's how we at the town are going to be operating. Now,
So
I'm
even
working
though that
towards.
they're on the list, you're saying that they're compliant?
I
Okay.
am, but there is. I still am working that with FEMA because they're on the FEMA list currently as a non-compliant structure, and the structure term don't people get like upset by. It's how they use. It's terminology that FEMA uses can apply to a brick and mortar building or a mobile like a mobile
Right.
home or a trailer. They still call it a structure. They're calling it non-compliant. We are working with them. Really, the purpose of them sending the list and the letter is to give the town the opportunity to address each one of those 252 and to explain to them the processes, procedures, and policies that we have in place, and that we are following those processes and procedures, and that they are in accordance with FEMA regulations. If we can demonstrate that, I think we're going to get to the path beyond the upcoming dates.
So, the point that I think she was making yesterday and that I've heard over and over again is the rule about being able to take your trailer off with a light duty truck is not a town rule. That came from FEMA.
It is.
That's their rule.
That is
How do
correct.
they not know their rule?
No,
I mean, that's
I'm with you on that.
baffling to me.
I'm with you on that, Kim, and that's part
And
of
I
our.
don't ever get that upset.
It's difficult to pin them down on a specific answer to some of our specific questions, but the process I can tell you that we're having with Tracy is leading daily meetings with the FEMA team that was here and with their headquarters as we work through each of these issues.
God bless her.
And we are trying to provide them with here's our answer to this question. Is that good enough? It's difficult. It's a very arduous and time-consuming process, but we're doing that every day. And the ultimate goal is to get us into everything that we feel should be compliant.
Let me
Aaron, agree with.
Kim, let me follow up on Kim's point.
Okay.
Kim, and just to answer your question directly, and Will, you might want to just clarify this a little bit. And again, it's difficult to get a definitive answer from FEMA, but Will did ask about the light duty truck proviso in FEMA's guidelines because it seems contradictory to the letter. And I think, Will, they did provide some clarification on that. Is that fair?
They did provide some clarification on those standards, the light duty truck, the licensed and registered, quick disconnects with utilities, and a minimum of a maximum 4-hour evacuation, that they can evacuate that trailer within 4 hours with the light duty truck. We did get some clarification. Confirmation. I won't go as far to say that they have given us an answer that all of those are going to be taken off the list, which is part of my frustration. But the one thing that I want to let everybody know is, again, we're going to work every day diligently on each one of these things till we get to a solution, because we really believe that is the standard that that they put on the town before. We have been maintaining that standard, and every trailer that meets that standard should be allowed to continue to operate in the manner.
And I guess to the point, Kim, that you had, is that the light duty trailer or being able to pull it off with a light duty truck was conveyed to FEMA by Will. They heard it and sort of listened to that. And I think what Will's trying to be careful about, they've not formally confirmed that, but they certainly heard it and were sympathetic to that. So it's a challenge getting definitive answers.
So we're
working through the
let me
process.
ask this: if somebody doesn't call, are you going to call them and tell them, or do you have enough staff right away? And how does the August 8th deadline fit into this?
First question I would say is, no, we don't currently have plans to call or notify everybody on the list. I'd much rather move forward with, if somebody has concerns about their specific property, their specific business, reach out to us. And others, I would assume, if they don't reach out to us, they're satisfied with the current status quo, or they're going to wait to see how things play out. August 8th is the deadline where we have to respond. The town has to respond formally, no later than that date, in writing to the list that we were provided. And each one of those properties has basically a column on the far right with the non-compliant issues, according to FEMA. Non-compliant doesn't mean that we can't, find a solution. As a matter of fact, we feel very good that we have an answer to vast majority of those compliance questions that they have. That's the date that we have to respond to them. Now, as you rightly
Wait.
read in the letter says August 8th, non-compliant structures must be removed. Our response is going to be that, yes, we agree, non-compliant structures are going to have to be removed, but these structures, which is the vast majority, are compliant.
Okay, what does compliant mean?
What we laid out for trailers, it means what we just talked about,
All right.
all those different things.
So specifically, Rose has a trailer in front of the green building that she's living in, right, Rose?
Okay.
I don't think she has. Do you have a permit for the trailer? Be honest with me. Do you have a permit for the trailer? Yes. So she probably has a temporary use permit that
Yes.
expires on the 23rd of
Yes.
September. She has to go.
No, not if we're going to find a path forward for those that have been using the temporary placement permits.
But you're not issuing any more permits.
Not yet, not right now, until we get this current FEMA letter answered. But my goal is to answer the question on the 8th, all the questions, really answer the test, questions on the 8th to FEMA. Then we're, using that and using the, hopefully, progress we make with FEMA is to develop a new policy that allows us to go beyond September 23rd with these people who are, whether, and it's not just the businesses. I understand there's also residents who are rebuilding their homes, are currently living in a trailer, and we understand and that's the other part of that policy.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
If you are trying to find a temporary use permit extension or some other, maybe give them a year, whatever policy you're working on, so Rose can stay. There's a guy on Del Mar that has a permit to demo his house. He's got permits in the works to rebuild his house, and he's living in a trailer on his property. I'm guessing he's got to go. Unless you come up with a plan, all right?
According to current policy.
So
yes.
let's say you come up with a plan. Does FEMA give a shit?
That's the main thing that I'm trying to make sure of. So we don't end up in this situation again 6 months from now, 1 year from now, is that that they're going to agree to allow us to continue operating this town, to make sure that everybody, we can maintain the economic viability and people's rebuilding of their private property. We need to have that path forward.
So, but is the path forward you convincing them? Because they don't seem to be convinced that whatever the town has been trying to sell them, that they're going to buy. I mean, you've tried this, Jim. You've tried to go to them and ask them to allow you to do these things.
It's been an evolving process. The mayor, prior to Will, and our team has been out to DC. They've been to their regional headquarters, and the conversations with FEMA have been evolving. Let me take it up 10,000 feet, because after the storm, and I think it's so helpful that the Survival Mode documentary was recently on, because it reminded people of how devastated we are. I would just say this temporary use permit concept, where we allowed people to live in trailers after the storm and do commercial business in trailers after the storm, that was done not only for humanitarian reasons, because obviously people needed a place to live and we needed food for the people who lived on the island and worked on the island, but also it was done from a practical standpoint. The mayor and I were both on the island for the storm. We both moved back onto the island as soon as possible after the storm. And you remember this, Ed, it was insane those first 6 months to a year, the construction traffic that was coming on the island to work on the homes and the businesses. And imagine if we didn't have these temporary use permits, where people couldn't live in in a trailer next to their home and or in their business, where they'd have to come off and on island every day to do construction work. The traffic was already a nightmare in spite of that. But imagine if everyone had to come on and off island every day. We would have been paralyzed. We've got 2 choke points, one on the north and one on the south side. That's where the FEMA piece, where the having a FEMA person on the ground at a high level who could see the reality of our nightmare would have certainly been helpful, because every situation is unique, and Fort Myers Beach is obviously very unique given the 2 choke points on our island. So without those temporary use permits, I mean, I lived on Tropical Shores Way. Both sides of me at a trailer living or parked in front of a semi-demolished house across the street, and everybody was working on their place, either demolishing or working on it to try to rebuild it. And if they had to go off the island and on the island every day, not only would that have been a horrible hardship on them, but the traffic was already a nightmare. So from a practical reality, that's where the FEMA challenge, they've obviously got a rule book they've got to follow, but they also have to have a flexibility to deal with the human stories and the human reality here on Fort Myers Beach after a disaster.
Saying, but do they have to?
Well,
let me just ask this real quick. The temporary use permits, is that something that just the town came up with? That's not
Well,
like,
the
is
town-
that a standard practice in other?
Well, the town came up with it, but the state of Florida basically blessed it in Senate Bill 250 and said
Okay.
you got till September 23rd. That's where the September 23rd deadline came from. From a policymaker standpoint, if FEMA will give us some grace, I'd like to see a situation where Rose can come to the town hall prior to September 23rd, assuming we can get FEMA more comfortable and say, look, I have a road to getting out of I have a path to getting out of my trailer, and here's my path. I'm going to demonstrate my path. And then the town can show them some grace and say, okay, I think people are frustrated is the neglected properties from people who just choose not to fix them, and or people living in trailers who don't have a path towards getting out of the trailer. So I think we're trying to find a process where we can show that empathy, but at the same time encourage a path towards moving forward.
Okay, so go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay. So that is do you think that is what FEMA has gotten in their craw, is that they don't like this temporary use situation? Oh, that was a funny look. You went silent.
Well, I mean, here's the challenge. I mean, the mayor initially was in all of these FEMA meetings along with senior staff, and then FEMA basically kind of just encouraged it to be on a staff-to-staff level. And Will has obviously been in these meetings, but only since Will's been here. So there's I mean, the story from FEMA has been evolving and changing. And I know people get upset, some of our armchair quarterbacks get upset when we criticize FEMA, but FEMA, quite frankly, has not been a partner early on. They've been an antagonist at times when, after the storm, they were on the island snooping around for permit violations when what we needed was more permit techs so we could speed up the permit process. We were working out of tents. Our staff were crammed in these emergency trailers.
All right, Jim, how at risk is the town of getting off probation with this last visit? That's what the people that want their discount back want to know.
Yeah, I think FEMA is, you joked the other day, or we're serious, you said, hey, so much for a kinder and gentler FEMA. I think that to FEMA's credit, this new FEMA leadership, they're actually aggressively trying to solve our problem. Now, we may not like how they solve it, but they are committed to working with us to get this process going. So hopefully we can get off probation. It may be a little choppy getting there, but we are aggressively working with them to meet that goal of getting that discount back.
I would agree with Jim 100% on that they, like I said, we've been every day, our discussions with FEMA have not been just with the team that was down here. It's also with Region 4 leadership to make sure that I'm getting the concurrence at that level with the process that we're have in place, that we're making adjustments to, and that will carry us beyond this date. And those are kind of really the crux of the answers that we have to provide by August 8th. And I will add, if I can, that really the issue, you said what was in their craw, Kim, when they came down, the focus of the inspection was on floodplain management. That's really, their focus was on what is in the VE zones, what kind of structures are in the VE zones, what kind of construction has happened in those zones, et cetera. That was their focus. They weren't necessarily saying, we don't like that trailer, so that trailer's got to go. It's like, in this zone, this is what's allowed. Show us how you permitted this. Show us how you whether it's permitted the trailer to be there or permitted the construction that is ongoing or that happened in that zone.
Can you be specific? If you say, did they look at Times Square?
They did.
So if they said to you, Buffalo Grill, who's here, is in the zone, that's the highest velocity zone on the island, right?
Yes.
What did they say about that?
Well, what they said, both specifically and in general about anything in those zones was, how did we, as a town, because they're looking at how the town does this. That's how we make sure that the town gets back into the CRS and the NFIP. Did we permit that work? Did we permit the business operations that's happening in there? What was our process to allow it, to permit it? Can we show them that process? And does that process comply with FEMA's flood zone management policies?
So what were the answers to all those questions in that case?
For many properties across the island, the answer was, either it's compliant for different zones or it's not compliant. And where it's not compliant was we have to show them I don't want to give the details of each individual property. Happy to talk with the owners of those properties in a little bit more detail. But for example, the trailer that Buffalo Grill operates out of, to my knowledge, and from what I asked my staff, the trailer is fine. It's some of the other construction that has gone on in that lot that may not be compliant. I haven't really talked in details with them about that, but that's an example.
So when FEMA looks at that, do they look at it like, why the hell is any of this stuff in the high velocity zone? We're not in favor of repaying the town of Fort Myers Beach all this money over and over and over again.
Sure. Really, the ultimate goal of these calves and everything is to make sure that FEMA isn't paying repetitive damages through their insurance policies unnecessarily.
Okay, so go ahead, Jim. Did you want to say something?
No, CAV is community assistant visit. Yeah, just to help people with acronyms. Yeah.
So is there anything else about FEMA that you want to talk about, that you want people to know about? Are we going to get off probation on November 1st? And is the discount coming back in April? Will?
That is our goal, most definitely, is to do everything that we need to do that supports the town of Fort Myers Beach, residents and businesses, and that complies with the FEMA standards to get us back into the community rating system, which is the gateway ultimately to get back into the National Flood Insurance Program at least the entry level, where we get the minimum discount allowable, but then start to work our way to a higher discount.
Yeah, this is clearly a FEMA process we have to go through, as painful as it is, and it's an ever-evolving process. But the fact that they were here for a significant amount of time, spent significant amount of time with our team, traveling the island. Again, there's going to be some aberrations in this report that we're going to work through. But the fact that they're here, they're on the ground, they're talking, and they're talking every day. They're having conference calls with our folks. I mean, that's as painful as it is. That's progress, and that's a necessary step to regain that discount.
So when people post on our page about Governor DeSantis saying from this storm you have 3 years, and then Milton comes along, which was last year, so it should be, I don't know if it was 3 years, but whatever it was, it didn't extend on September 23rd, 2025. Does that not include Fort Myers Beach? And does FEMA care what DeSantis does? I mean, does anybody get on the same page with any of this shit stuff? Will?
I won't speak for what FEMA cares or not with that. What I'll tell you is it's my understanding that as the town council extended the temporary placement permit in accordance with Senate Bill 250 to September 23rd, 2025. We don't have a mechanism to take it beyond that right now.
But FEMA,
go ahead.
Just constitutionally, FEMA obviously trumps the state, but the FEMA is intertwined with the state. And it's not just the discount that's at stake, Ed. I mean, if we don't have the proper certification from FEMA, if we have, God forbid, another serious event, it jeopardizes whether we get certain types of relief after a storm. So it's not, obviously the discount's important, but it's actually bigger than the discount, because our status is contingent upon other types of aid after a disaster. So it's a big challenge, and I think the town's hitting it head on, and it'll be a painful exercise. But I think with this team we're going to get through it, and hopefully we'll be successful this cycle, if not certainly the next cycle.
When you're talking about the other stuff that FEMA does, we're talking about the big black trucks coming.
Yeah, I mean, the state played a huge role in that as well.
It's one thing to get your discount, but if the town had to pay for debris removal, that would not.
Not only did the town not pay for debris removal, which is in the tens of millions, certainly for Fort Myers Beach, probably hundreds of millions for the region.
That's a millage rate increase for sure.
That's not a millage rate. That's disaster. That's you're basically bankrupt. So you want to certainly be eligible for that type of assistance. Everybody remembers the double trailer trucks with the big black claw in the middle, and they're almost like a Mad Max movie watching those things drive around. But they were extremely costly, not only to remove the waste, but to dispose of it as well. And those are the kind of things that would potentially be at jeopardy if we don't get our status back.
So what is your final message, or a message, to the people that are living in trailers that are trying to rebuild? Not so much the people that are living in trailers that are just living there, that have no plans to rebuild, trying to sell the property, which really there's different
dynamic. Everybody's got a different story.
But there are some people that are trying to rebuild that are living in trailers, or or businesses. I mean, when Heather was on the show yesterday, she said, "I'm not going anywhere," but her temporary use permit does expire.
Yeah, and
Should she go anywhere? Wait 1 second. Okay. What did you say? Okay, sir. All right.
yeah, sorry, we have
What
some
would you-
technical challenge. Yeah.
What would you say to the business owners, or what would you say to
I would
Heather?
say two things. Number one, we're working our way through this list that FEMA gave us, and so you may not be contacted by the town. You may be fine. We may be able to resolve that directly with FEMA, and if you are contacted with the town, it's sort of yet to be determined as how much flexibility FEMA is going to give us. If it was up to me, I'd love to have a sort of a process that people could go through, where people like Rose and these various businesses could demonstrate that they do have a pathway towards moving out of their temporary structure, and then we could show them some grace. And obviously those folks who are just being negligent, and I think that group is in the minority, but they're out there. We see them with these neglected houses and people living in trailers that have no plan to get out of the trailers. So it's kind of a two-track dynamic. So to your point, Ed, if the town is given the opportunity to show some grace, I think we'd like to do so, but it's yet to be determined how much grace FEMA is going to give us, and we're working through that process now. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair, Jim. And I would add that I'm confident that my staff at the town can do two things at once. We can work with the issues with FEMA that we need to as a town to demonstrate our plans, policies, and procedures, but we can also work with every resident and business owner who has questions whether or not they are or can come into compliance. We can do that at the same time. The staff will work with them, answer their questions, just like we try to do with every issue. So please reach out to us if you have a concern, and we will help, where we can. We will definitely help you get into compliance, or verify with you that you are in compliance.
Now, we've talked a lot about trailers and being in compliance in that regard. What was the feedback for unpermitted work? Because that was a big thing after the storm, and I haven't heard much about that. Were those things on the list?
Yes, Tim, thank you. Yeah, about the rest of the list is around unpermitted work, or work that looks like it might have been permitted, but there might have been some things flood zone management wise that either weren't done to standard. About 100 out of the 250-ish properties fall into the category of unpermitted work, unpermitted work. FEMA asked a question if the work was permitted. That's why I say possibly. So in many of those cases, we'll be able to answer whether or not it was, and if it wasn't, what we are doing as a town to correct that with the property owner, with the contractor, and or if it was permitted work that they identified, they see some things that from a flood zone management perspective they see questionable. They see as questionable. Again, how do we demonstrate to them our processes and procedures, whether they're good processes and procedures, or we need to correct our processes and procedures so that work isn't allowed again, and what we're going to do to correct that unpermitted or unauthorized work.
Now, you guys there is someone who manages the floodplain thing here. Has FEMA reviewed that? I don't know if it's a document or a plan, and said, yeah, that's at least where you're starting from. That's a good jumping off point. Like, that's been cleared and okayed?
Yes, well, not yet cleared and okayed. We do have there, again, in the list, you see there was mentions of standard operating procedures and policies and procedures. So that those things we are correcting where they identified shortfalls or gaps in our plans. Our floodplain manager is correcting those. Our community development manager is correcting. Again, they're working together to update those documents that need to be updated, and they'll be part of our answer to FEMA.
So, well, Mike, I have a question for you. Is it going to matter, like Moms doesn't have permits ready to rebuild, but the goods does. Is it going to matter whether or not somebody is actually, because originally the town wanted to give people a break as long as they showed some progress to rebuild, whether as a resident or a business owner. Is it going to matter moving forward whether somebody has something in the portal? What is the cutoff point? What do they need to have? Or, I mean, well, hold on, Jim.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be case by case. And I reached out to the town after Heather's interview yesterday, and I think there's a little miscommunication on that Heavenly Biscuit property. I mean, Frankie said that he'd met with them, and I think the town really wants to work and partner with them. So I'm not sure where the breakdown of communication. I would encourage Heather to reach back out. I think Will's going to stop by and see her this week. We're going to work through that. I think there was a miscommunication on that, but yeah, I think each case is going to be somewhat unique. If people have insurance challenges, people have contractor issues, people have permitting issues, they've got all kinds of different challenges. And I think if there's a sincere effort to work towards a solution, I'm in the camp to show some grace. But if for those folks who have no plan and or just being negligent, and again, I think that group is in the minority, but they're out there and it's frustrating a lot of people. So I think we have to be somewhat discerning through that process. And I don't know that you can have a concrete answer or broad,
Jim, all this originates back when the town passed this temporary use permit idea. It seems like FEMA saying, should have never done that. We wish you didn't do that because now you have structures in places that they shouldn't be and they're not moving. And you did it seemed like you did it in good faith, but.
Well, we did it more in good. And you may have been working on the equipment, Ed, when I was talking about that earlier, in the sense that after the storm, the dynamic was such where we had so many people pouring in to work on their homes and businesses. We had a traffic nightmare. And aside from the humanitarian dynamic of allowing people to live near their homes in a trailer because they had nowhere to live, there were no FEMA trailers, by the way. And allow commercial businesses to operate so we could have food and beverages on the island so the workers and so forth wouldn't have to go off island to eat. Imagine if everybody were, and there were so many trailers I was selling. Kim, there was trailers on both sides of my place that I was renting because our condo was heavily damaged. And there was a trailer across the street. And these folks would just literally work on their home all day, go to bed, and then come back and come out of their trailers, go back to work. Imagine if everyone would have had to go off island every night and then come back on island the next day, including all the construction teams, all the people living there. The traffic already was a nightmare. People forget what it was like on Fort Myers. Everybody used to sitting around, why is this traffic so horrible? Nobody's even living on the island. Well, the construction traffic and people trying to come and fix and repair their homes was a nightmare. So a lot of the armchair quarterbacking, I understand everybody's got First Amendment right and all that, and I'm sure things weren't perfect, but for God's sakes, watch that documentary again. I mean, it was post-apocalyptic world here on Fort Myers Beach. Sorry, that was post-apocalyptic.
Well, no, to your point, and you said it, there were no FEMA trailers here. I remember the story where somebody came, they measured for it. FEMA measured for it. Yeah, we're gonna, yep, okay. And then they came back and said, oh God, no, you're in a special flood hazard zone. We can't bring our trailers here, right? So to me, they were saying right there, no trailers should be in this area. I mean, they didn't even bring them for people to live in.
And I don't want to pile on FEMA, but the disaster recovery tent, Brenda and I were living after we finally got off the island 4 days after the storm. We were living with our aunt and uncle, but desperately trying to find a place to rent back on the island so I could be close to obviously where all the challenges were. And so, I went to that disaster recovery tent on 8 separate occasions to make application for some rental assistance. It was a cluster over there. Some nice people working there, but nobody had authority to make a decision. There was no information. I saw the lines of people just exasperated. I can't tell you how many people just gave up and never came back again. It was such a dysfunctional mess. And this is the entity whose purpose is to serve after a disaster. Wouldn't you have kind of figured? I understand you got to be careful to protect against fraud and abuse and so forth. But my gosh, I'm a pretty savvy person. 8 visits to get through the process. It's madness.
So let me ask you this, if either one of you know. So there's a list of at least 100 residents that have applied for FEMA grants for their to rebuild their house or to lift their house. And 3 years later, you guys even hired Tidal Basin to help take these residents through the process. There was these guys right here sitting in the middle there have been waiting and waiting and waiting. And in the meantime, they're told not to touch their house. Now they're living in a trailer on their property. So they're entwined in any possible scenario that FEMA can come up with. What do you tell those folks over there that are waiting for the mitigation money and living in a trailer that's probably on your list?
Yeah, well, I'll tell them, I'm working hard, like I've said, Ford. So I know you don't want to live in a trailer any longer than you have to, but we're working hard to make sure that you can continue with that option. But as far as the Elevate Florida program, correct? And or is it it's the other grant, right? It's the mitigation grant. I've been following your questions and been following the questions on the other media on that. I do not have a further update on that. The town is not involved in that process other than the Tidal Basin team, which which we brought on board to help people with the application process. Once the applications went in, I don't have visibility on those.
Anything to add?
Just we're waiting for that program to come. It's a federal program. We're waiting for it to come to fruition. These poor folks have been waiting. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for our government on that.
And how much are we paid Tidal Basin to?
Well, Tidal Basin's really to help us, get FEMA. That they're not responsible for that delay. Yeah. I mean, they're just trying to help. That program is the fact that you build people's expectations like that and then you just leave them hanging for years. I can't defend that.
Just looking at I apologize to the people in the chat box. I'm sure there were questions because it's a big audience, and I know Beth had a question, but then I lost it. So do you have a question? Are you good, Rose? You good, Fred? You good? You have a question? All right, come on over.
So, right there. So here's my question. Fred Malone, obviously owner of Buffalo Grill, which we'll be talking next week. Everything I have done has been compliant under FEMA regulations. I am a contractor, so I know how to follow rules and regulations, and I've done it all under FEMA's guidelines. How are you okay with allowing FEMA to perform this, as Ed said, Abbott and Costello routine? There are no set rules. They change their minds every time they come in. They don't give you why are you not sitting down with FEMA and standing up to them and say, give us guidelines, exact guidelines, and stop changing your mind? They change their mind every time they come here. Why can't you get set answers from them? That's what I don't understand. It's regarding everything, not just businesses, people with houses. Who cares? What are they going to do to you? If there's a natural catastrophe, you don't think the governor's going to come in here and say, okay, here's the money to fix it? Get some guidelines, get some answers, set answers. I think that's what everybody's frustrated is. It just goes round and round. You never get a set answer.
Let me take a stab at that. Let me take a stab at that, Fred, because it's a fair point, and it gets back to what I call the secular golden rule. And then the secular golden rule goes as follows: he or she who has the gold makes the rules. And FEMA has the gold. They're the ones who control whether we get this discount again. I think your point's well taken, Fred. I assume the governor would come in at some point, step in and help out in a disaster. But nonetheless, we've got to get this discount back. And in private, obviously, Will and his team are pushing back. I mean, there's only so much productivity and just pounding on FEMA when we're trying to constructively work with them to get our discount back. But I mean, to your point, you're following all the rules. You're doing everything you're asked to do, and then the rules change. It's incredibly frustrating. It's frustrating for the town. But I mean, those conversations are being held. Most of that it's in private at the staff level. But it's a challenge, no question about it.
I agree, Fred. Great point. Valid frustrations. We share your frustrations. The discussions we're having inside, our offices with connection to FEMA are very candid and very direct. And where in examples like you explained, where we felt that it was compliant, there was no issue, certain properties around the island, and then to see it on the list was frustrating to us. But what we're doing is we're understanding that, the field we're playing on is we have to provide an answer back to them. That's the field we're playing right now. My intent is that we overwhelm them with information of how we are doing things within their regulations, their standards, and we've updated our policies and procedures to be in compliance, to just overwhelm them with that where there's no way they can answer any other way.
This is just a real quick question. When you're in those meetings with them, is there like a court reporter that transcribes stuff? Is anyone getting anything written down so that for your purposes to go back and say, whoa, that is not what you said. Let's go check the record to see what you guys said the rule was.
Absolutely, 100%. There are multiple. We all take very detailed notes in those meetings, and we're keeping those. But yeah.
But is there like a legal
afterwards there is a follow-up where we send those notes to FEMA to get confirmation that this is how we understood the discussion. This is the points that we made. Here's the points that you made. Here's the agreeances that we had, and that for most of those we've received confirmation back from the leadership in Region 4 in agreeance with what we've said.
So
I can't promise yet that we've reached the end goal.
So, Will, with your military background and you're sitting around the table with a bunch of FEMA officials, did you ever just want to pull out your never mind. I mean, no, seriously, but when you're used to dealing with the chain of command, getting things done, blah, blah, blah. And then you see and hear the history of the never changing situation here. I mean, what do you think of what you're watching?
It's a very frustrating process when you go in circles and never really reach a solution or never get a decision. So where I use that experience is to not let the meeting end or not let the day go by where I haven't received an answer to the questions that I've asked, or a solution if we can't answer the question, or we have open questions where we receive a recommended solution. So it's nuance. It's trying to maintain the relationship. Like Jim was saying, they have the gold right now. So we have to maintain the relationship with FEMA. Ultimately, we're going to have to gain their concurrence with our what we're doing here in the town. So I want to maintain the relationship while at the same time holding them accountable. Absolutely.
Can you really hold FEMA accountable? I mean, that's not a joke, a question, but I mean, because we're so far below them.
Yeah, no, I can't say that I personally can hold them accountable. What we can do is keep a record, like Kim says, is act on the things that we agree with, that we need to act on, and then work with our elected officials and the other elected officials to also use to hold FEMA accountable.
I mean, Senator Scott and Byron Donalds, Congressman Donalds have been very helpful in trying to help us follow up and hold them accountable. But again, as things continue to evolve, I mean, we're going to continue to need their help, but we're working through it.
Is the 25% discount worth all this?
Well, again, as we were talking before, it's not just a 25% discount. It's key disaster aid programs that FEMA offers that we may potentially not be eligible for if we're not in good standing. So it's broader than that. And the 25% discount is really important particularly for those folks who have a mortgage. I'm a former state insurance commissioner. I'm seeing more and more people who have the luxury to go bare on their insurance. They're in essence self-insuring. They're taking what they would otherwise pay for premium, setting that aside in I call it a pre-funded loss reserve account. And then when the storm comes, hopefully it's not for a number of years now, they've got a little loss reserve fund there that they can just pay the claim on, or pay whatever damages they've got. There's no deductible. There's no insurance company telling you, oh no, we're not going to pay that claim. But that's a highly risky dynamic, and for those folks who have the luxury to afford to do that, God bless them. Mm-hmm. But the faith in our insurance industry is fading because of this inability or lack of desire to pay claims, legitimate claims. And I've never seen anything like it on Fort Myers Beach in Southwest Florida after storm. And I quite frankly hold the regulators responsible to some extent, because these insurance companies need to be paying claims, and that's created a big part of a lot of these challenges.
Any final thoughts, Will, on the FEMA situation and what you want the residents of the beach to know?
I want the residents to know that myself and everyone on the town staff is sympathetic and and empathetic in some cases to what you're going through, and we are right here with you. We're going to fight this. We're not going to stop until we get the solution and the answers that we need, that everybody in this town needs. Like I said before, it's about people restoring their homes, their pride, their sense of community, but also our economic vitality of this community. So we're definitely we're not going to give up. We're going to keep on fighting every day.
Do you have a question? Oh, who's that, Jim?
I have my glasses on.
All right. Thank you for all that.
Prescription glasses.
Does anybody? I think we're done with FEMA. Will, why don't we start off with the Catholic Church? Oh, you do have a question. Okay.
In the process of rebuilding my house. I'm working on a permitting closer. So I'm in the process of rebuilding my house. I'm in a VE zone. So I've got the construction documents now after 7 months waiting for the architect design person. So I've been reaching out to the town for help. So I've been going to Bay Oaks a number of times, a number of weeks, leaving my name and my telephone number, but nobody calls back. And so I finally reached Kendra through Donna, the receptionist. She had Kendra answer 5 questions for me. But so I kind of need help, but it seems like you can't even reach people at town hall. You can't get in that building, and I go to Bay Oaks, and you think that maybe you'd have people working at Bay Oaks where you could walk in, but there's no way to meet with town employees. Or how do I reach, like you, Mr. Adholm, how do you reach the council members? How do you, by email or text, huh?
Email or phone. Yeah, for the council, it's probably easier to reach right now because the town's transitioning from Bay Oaks it puts you in a tough spot, but I'm sure Will could follow up you after our interview and get your information, follow up with you next week directly.
I'll get with you afterwards and get your information. Yep.
Yeah.
So the state of Florida passed a 36-month rule for permitting, 36-month rule, just like you did. But now they extended it to 48 months if there's another natural disaster, like Milton was. There were 2 disasters, and you could extend the permitting to 48 months. So are you aware of that, or do you?
Use permits, you mean?
They
No,
just said state permits, building permits at the state
I see.
level.
Okay. All right.
Building permits and other types of local permits.
Yeah, it's different than the temporary placement permits having to do with trailers and stuff like that. It has to do with building. Yes, familiar with that. Again, I'll come see you after this and we can talk. Yep. Thank you.
So I had a question I wanted to follow up with from
Okay.
last week before we get to the church. I just remembered it. When we had Dan on last week, he had 2 weeks ago, he had a list of properties that were on the town's kind of like getting close to demo list. And then I walked down Fairweather, and 2 of those properties on Fairweather were on the demo list, or they were on the list, whatever the list was. It had 13 properties on it, and Fairweather was on it. And then I walked down Fairweather, and it was pretty painted and people renting it. And is the list accurate, or what was the story with that?
It's a living document that we update, on a regular basis as we go through. And again, people either it's been demoed and then they follow through on the demo, or we go through the legal process and we follow through the demo, or people get all of the, all their ducks in a row, for lack of a better way of saying, and then we can take it off the demo list because they're moving forward with remodeling or reconstruction or what have you. It's down to about 10 properties now, our list. So it continues to whittle down, which we're glad to see because people of those 2 categories.
So if I asked for the list from the public docket request on Monday and asked for the list, that would be a totally 100% accurate list according to that period
Accurate
of time.
as of Friday.
Okay, because I mean, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but that took a long while for that property to be painted and fixed up, and it was on the
Yes.
current list that we had. So the list is down to 10, which is pretty good. I mean, it's
agree.
only 10 proproperties is pretty good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Can you just comment, Ed? Because I watched both your Fairweather walk around as well as your the one yesterday,
Del Mar.
Del Mar and Pearl Street. The amount of home building
It's
that's
fabulous.
occurred post Ian. And again, I understand it's a little closer to the north end, but still amazing the
Yeah.
amount of new structures there on both of those streets.
Yeah, what gets irritating to me is when people say the beach is never going to be the same. I challenge people to walk up and down those streets when you see a pink house and a blue house and an orange house and a big house and a small house. And I mean, everybody's trying to rebuild, and Ron's house, I don't know how that thing didn't get blown over. I mean, he must have been positioned perfectly between some other bigger houses because he had a cottage. And everybody's got a story that's a resident. Like, he lives in a cottage that used to be at the Pink Shell. How many people know that kind of history, that the cottages were moved over there? And so he's in between a couple, I think, bigger houses that probably protected him. And I didn't even know there was a little trailer park.
I watched you walk through that RV park. I never knew it even existed.
I
It was
felt like
pretty
a
good size,
schmuck.
too.
Like,
Yeah.
I got to get out more. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
no,
know
it
there was
was-
something.
yeah.
But the reconstruction on the streets of the homes, it's going along great.
And most of the properties you saw were done.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, on-
amazing.
on
Yeah.
those streets.
Yeah,
There
on
weren't a
those
lot of
streets.
properties that needed to be demoed
I just
on
saw
those
that
streets.
one. Yeah.
So what's going on with the Catholic Church?
Thanks for asking, Ed. So we had a meeting earlier this week. I ever since I got here, I've been asking the team to reach out to the Diocese of Venice so we could have a meeting with the leaders of the diocese on the rebuild of the Ascension Parish. And so we had that meeting on Monday. The chancellor from the diocese came down, and the building director of the diocese came down from Venice to meet with us in person in our building. And this funny story is right after the meeting, Tracy, my deputy, she noted that, boy, it was really a stereotypical meeting where you had the Irish Catholic, the German Catholic, the Italian Catholic, the Eastern European Catholic, all those kind of mafia stereotypes of the Catholic Church were all represented in one meeting. But we did get down to serious business, and
Well, it's both Tracy and Frankie are also, including yourself, are all Catholic.
That's right.
Which made it a much more.
But it also
I don't know what you mean by mafia.
I'm not
it also
touching
made
that
it-
one, yeah.
Can you change mine back? Okay. It also made it a very good and candid discussion between all of us. And they came with plans. They came with, well, maybe not plans, but renderings of the new church. And so they plan on rebuilding, and they plan on coming in within the next 6 to 8 months to start the permitting process with us as well. The only thing that's holding them back from that right now is is they want to, like they do when they remodel, or build any new church throughout the diocese, is they have a series of meetings with the communities. And so they will be meeting with the Catholic community down here sometime in the future. They said it'll likely be at maybe St. Leo the Great, or maybe one of the others. They'll call for a community meeting for everybody to come in, and they'll lay out their renderings and their plans and ask for community feedback. Then they'll move to the next phase of getting the actual architectural drawings and stuff come in to get the permits. But I can tell you the renderings that they brought in are absolutely gorgeous. They plan on building. They're going to demolish the old church and the old parish center, and rebuild in the center of the property there a new combined parish and community hall. And they're going to elevate it on an elevated mound, not elevated stilts, but elevated mound, because they want to have the most ADA accessible facility that they can build. And then they're going to retain the old monastery structure, although the first floor will be flood zone compliant, so there'll be nothing there. But they're going to maintain the two upper levels, and then on the southern end there will be the diocese owns the other southern end of the property. They're also going to rebuild the memorial garden. For those of you that remember, that was kind of on the northern side of where the church is. They're going to redo the memorial garden, and they want a lot of community feedback on all of this that I mentioned. So more to follow. We've got a great dialogue with them now. We'll be putting more information out. We're really excited. It's going to be, from what I saw, it's going to be a destination type of location when they finish it.
So I got to stick this question in here, Will, before we get to Santini Plaza. Now that you've been here a few months, what do you think of this whole recall thing?
I think it's unfortunate, just because we've got business to do, and if it distracts with the business, then that is a concern of mine. It's completely within voters and residents' rights to do so. So my focus is what the town's responsibility is with that, and we'll do everything that we have to administratively follow the procedural rules for the state of Florida.
How do you think this? Are you happy with the way the staff is right now? You always, when you have a new manager, there's sometimes, or whatever, a new manager of a baseball team or a new manager at a restaurant, whatever, people like to have their team and people that they've maybe worked before. Do you think your team is in place?
I think it's an excellent team. I think the previous town manager, Andy, did a great job of bringing in some talent and moving some people around to better fit their talents. It's excellent. I'm really happy with the staff. I think I've got them going, I believe, in a direction and in a way that works for me, but also is of benefit to our council and the whole town. So yeah, I couldn't be happier.
Great.
Right
And did you give Chad a raise yet? Because that beach renourishment he deserves a raise. I mean, I've been saying that for a year, Jim.
Chad is excellent. We have
great.
lots of excellent employees on the town staff. Chad being
You
one.
didn't need to answer that. So for both of you, the question I had was, where were you on the beach school?
So the beach school process is ongoing. Myself and Tracy are working directly with the school district on.
Tracy, just by the way, point of information. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Former principal of the beach school, Tracy, now my deputy. So it's a wonderful asset for us to have as we work through this issue with the district. The last meeting that I had with the district agreed that they want the school back on the beach. They agree with us that that is in the best interest of the town and everybody here. So they want that as like we do, and they'll continue to work with us on that.
Okay, so in your opinion, if you were to just throw something out there, is it going to be the school that's run by Lee County, or is it going to be a charter school?
Right now, my bet would be on charter school, more likely.
So how does the community of Fort Myers Beach fit into that in terms of finances?
So there are different ways that you can run charters, private or public. If it's a public charter school, then it would be town run, and the town would still receive funding for each child that goes to the school, but it would pass through the district because the district has an administrative role in all the public schools that operate within the district. We would get the funding that any community school would get for the students from that community, from the properties within that community, the property taxes within that community. We would get that funding. But then, honestly, yeah, there would be some areas where we would need to find additional funding.
So, Jim, I'm going to ask you this.
Yep.
You were in all those meetings with the committee, and Tracy was in all those meetings, I believe. If it goes to a charter school, do you believe the school district lied to you?
Well, let's go back to the fundamental premise that we have currently have an interlocal agreement, a 4-year interlocal agreement signed with Lee County School District. And as far as I'm concerned, that is still a very binding document. Now, the mayor has been going around and meeting with the various school board members as well as the school superintendent who's now elected. And those meetings have actually been very productive, and a lot of outside the box solutions are being discussed. My position is, as an ad hoc committee member who's part of that interlocal agreement process, is that if the mayor and the school board and the superintendent come up with an option outside of the ILA that is agreeable to both sides, I'm all ears. And so it's quite frankly yet to be determined. I've yet to hear the superintendent say, I want that to be a charter school. I've yet to see the dollar amounts that are going to be discussed. There's a potential for a public-private partnership to build a new school. What's the interim solution to get those kids back on the island in the old building while the new building is being built? There's so many variables out there. It's still in the discussion phase. I appreciate the school board and the superintendent working with the mayor, having conversations in good faith. Will and Tracy are meeting with the superintendent's team as well. There's a lot of conversations going on, but we're not at the point yet where we know definitively where this is headed.
But Jim, just between us kids,
Yes.
The school district did sign a document that said that the beach was going to have a school, and they are going back on it.
Well, we've got today we have serious challenges with respect to compliance with the ILA, to your point.
Okay.
Serious challenges. We were promised the cafeteria. Those kids should be back in that building post Milton. There's a lot of serious challenges. Parents are very concerned, but we're trying to look longer term. And again, I'm all for this concept of a new school, but we need an interim solution to get these kids back on the island ASAP. And we do have that old building sitting there with some minor renovations could be fixed as an interim solution while the new school is being built. So I'm giving the mayor and the superintendent and the school board the benefit of the doubt right now. We're hoping those conversations that are going on in good faith result in an out-of-the-box solution, but the proof will be in the pudding, to your point.
Yeah, I heard the candidate that was running for school board saying on some silly little podcast that, the beach deserves a school.
I'm hearing good things from the school board. The mayor has been meeting with them directly, as well as the superintendent. Because of the sunshine dynamics, I'm not part of those meetings, which is fine. I'm glad the mayor's doing it. I'm glad we're looking for something outside the box. But I think it's premature to judge the outcome because we're not exactly sure what the solution is going to look like at this point.
Final thoughts on the school, Will?
I agree 100%. We're continuing the meetings that we have are focused on holding them accountable to the ILA, the local agreement, and making sure that we live up to our end as well. So that's the focus of every meeting, but every time we try to, that's how the conversation came up about me getting them to commit that, yes, they want a school on the island.
Yep.
And they are exploring other ways, but the ILA is our number one focus.
What keeps you up at night?
Just taking care of this community. It's I have a wonderful sounding board at home that can help me decompress sometimes when I need to, but really the staff does such a wonderful job that rarely is there anything that keeps me up at night.
Well, is the town in good financial shape?
Yes, I believe the town is in good financial shape. We've got some upcoming discussions with budget hearings next month, September, and we'll start some discussions about how we in the coming weeks about how we get beyond the bridge loan, which we're going to be in the last tranche of bridge loan funding for FY26. So we need to start having some discussions about planning for beyond the bridge loan.
Do you think the millage rate should be raised?
It's very likely that we'll make a recommendation for that, but I'm still working with the staff on exactly what that will be and how we look at. It's just, again, my focus is because I just gave you something there that, but I think the focus,
approximately how much?
We have to look at, not ready to discuss that right now, but we have to look at getting beyond the bridge loan.
Well, explain what the bridge loan is.
So the town was given a bridge loan from the federal government, FEMA, and passed through the state of $11.9 million several years ago that we could draw from every year to make up for revenue gaps. And that has been about a $2.5 million a year for the past 4 years or so that the town has been utilizing to make up for that lost revenue. This next year will be the last that we're drawing out of that bridge loan, as I mentioned. So we're going to have about a $2.5 million gap in revenue. Some of that is going to be made up by the tax assessments that you've covered in everything, but not all of it. So we have to have some serious discussions, first with the town and with my staff and with Joe when he comes back on board, here pretty soon.
So what are the
for
chances
all-
that bridge loan gets forgiven and you don't have to pay it back?
I don't.
'Cause-
I can't say what the chances are, but I can tell you that myself and the mayor are still having conversations with town leadership of Sanibel and some others who also were recipients of that bridge loan to with our elected leaders to go to state, this year, next legislative session to give us forgiveness for that loan.
If the bridge loan is forgiven, will the taxes stay the same?
Unknown at this time, Ed. We'll have to assess
All right.
that when it happens.
Jim, you look like you're ready to jump in there. Do you
Yeah,
think the
I'm-
taxes, you're Mr. Conservative? Wait, you're Mr. Conservative. What about taxes?
I'm waiting for the town staff to make their case. I at this point, I don't see the need for a tax increase, but if Will and Joe and others have a case to be made, I'm willing to listen. But I again, in fairness to Will, he's just took the helm 2 months ago, and our finance director is just coming back, who's a phenomenal fellow, by the
Yes.
way. And let's let them make the case. Let the public hear their case. Let the council hear their case. I've not heard the case yet, so I'm trying to keep an open mind. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Will, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we get to Santini that do you want the people to know about? I mean, I want to make sure that if there's anything else on your mind that you let it rip.
I'll defer to the vice mayor.
Okay. You ready to go on
I'm
Santini?
ready to Santini Plaza. And just let me do a little preamble here. As everybody knows, our businesses, this is the slowest time for all of our businesses on the island. So if you can, please support our local businesses during this off season. Eat on the island, shop on the island. If you're off the island and listening to the show, try to check out websites of shops on the island and shop from their website, or buy gift cards just for gifts to others. Just support our local businesses everywhere on the island. But with respect to Santini Plaza, I just did a tour with Sharon, the manager, just this week. Surf Style, Island Liquors, Gavin's Hardware, all doing a brisk business, bringing people into the plaza. The Santini Marina Plaza self-storage still has storage units for rent. Very convenient location for storage units on the island. The UPS store has a nice sign out front, but not a lot of activity yet. I think they're going to need some permitting help, Will. The Hughes Salon and Day Spa, which will do both hair and nails. They're still working on their shop, hopefully ready by season. Sweet Licks Ice Cream Shop has changed their summer hours. They're now open from 4 to 9:30 p.m. They serve ice cream and their various coffees and so forth.
Here come the ads.
And then, of course, no, I'll be careful. I'll be fast
kidding.
because I know you want to focus
No,
on the
no,
restaurants, but I
no,
have to mention them all. Yeah. Liani's and the Islander both doing a nice business. And the Book Nook is open. They're having another children's reading hour. You promoted the last one, Ed. This one is on August 8th. Again, they'll have an author of the book, Penelope and Her Guardian Turtle is the name of the book. And the author will be there to read the book to the kids. And then there'll be a craft afterwards. Yep. I know you probably read that, in a couple weeks? Took you to read that? The Book Nook is open. Again, Islander is all new stuff every week.
Slow down. Just speaking of books, we do have Lee Melsek's book here, he came on the show yesterday. It's $20, and all 100% of the money goes to the Brown Family Foundation. So if you want to pick up Lee's book, it's called Finding Huck or Uncle Huck or Finding Nemo. It's over here. It's all about the beach. So it's here for $20.
I know you can shop online at both Liani's and the Islander if you're off island. Freaky Boutique and Juice Jungle Cafe. There, I'm told that I was just in their shop there. Hopefully, we'll have sandwiches and a deli within the next week or so.
I can talk a little bit more about that.
Beautiful.
I ran into the guy at the gym today, the co-owner of that. He thinks that maybe Monday they might be ready. So,
Beautiful.
we invited him on the show. So that's the back part of what's the front part called?
Freaky Boutique is the main store.
That's
and
kind of on
inside
the
it is
corner.
and then the inside it has the Juice Jungle Cafe, and all their sandwiches will be on fresh sourdough bread. I'm told it's spectacular. Next to that is in the former Skies is the Over Easy Cafe. At some point, that'll serve both breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're probably the last of the restaurants that will be operational, hopefully in time for season. Nesbitt Realty's moving along. New York Pizza and Pasta, everybody asks about. Spectacular place. They have some windows now put in. They've got their grease trap put in. They've got they're going to have this bar on the breezeway of Santini Plaza. You know, have those little inlets, and they'll have like little garage doors that pull down over this bar, like a Key West experience. It'll be very cool. And obviously, their goal is to be open by season. Hopefully, before then, Royal Shell Real Estate is moving along. They're going to need some permit help as well. Here's some breaking news, Ed. The former Sandbar, which everybody asks about, Yariv, the owner of Santini Plaza, has been working with a lot of different potential owners and tenants. And the Sandbar now, according to Yariv, who's in Italy right now, he told me that he's approved for his contractor to build it out as a sports bar. Now, they're not going to decorate or anything. It's just going to be kind of a shell. Because what he tells me is, first of all, the Sandbar was one of the most profitable shops in the Santini Plaza. So he's kind of surprised that it's not been rented. But I think when people come in the Sandbar, because it's sort of organized in an odd way, people don't fully understand its potential as a sports bar. So he's going to build it out so when potential tenants come in, they're going to see how awesome it is for a sports bar. And hopefully that'll help us get that rented. So what I would say to the people here in the audience, and this seems odd, but you know, the Yellow Army is pervasive. If people know of somebody who's had a lifelong dream of opening a sports bar, and this is a great opportunity, a very profitable operation. Before Ian, yeah, did I see a glimmer? Torgerson was interested, took a look at it the other day, and unfortunately it doesn't work with his business model. But we're looking for somebody to come in and run that Sandbar. Again, great location. We desperately need that back on Santini Plaza. And then, of course, the longtime favorite South Beach Grill. They're at work. They're going to need some permit help as well, Will. But they've got some challenges. But they're hoping to be open by season. But they're definitely coming back. And then, of course, Badass Coffee is open. They've got they're kind of kicking up the food menu. I just saw the John Nash over here. He had a breakfast sandwich the other day. My wife was over there yesterday having coffee. They've got turkey, bacon, cheddar sandwiches, ham and Swiss, grilled cheese, bacon and egg cheddar sandwiches. They've got the Badass One sandwich, which is egg and Swiss, pineapple, barbecue sauce. And then I would just say too, behind Santini Plaza is the Loggerheads Fishtail Marina, and it's been a little bit of a mystery for folks who aren't in boating to know what's going on over there. They've subleased the part of that land to Walker's. I'm sure John knows all about this. Walker's Marine. Walker's Marine. So you'll see a sign sometimes that says Walker's Marine. People are like, what is that? I thought it was Fishtail Marina. Well, they've sublet that space from Loggerheads Fishtail and Marina, and they sell boats and they service boats. And then Loggerheads Fishtail and Marina is the folks who actually do the storage. And soon they're going to have gas and bait. They told me that the gas should be back up and available hopefully within the next 60 or 90 days. And the progress of the Fishtail Marina kind of impacts the progress of the Pinchers, which is at the old Fishtail restaurant. They are coming back. I've talked to the Phelan family. They want to come back, but it's sort of dependent on the progress of the marinas rebuilding. So hopefully that Pinchers will be ready for season, maybe mid-season. But things are happening back there, and it's all good. So please support our friends at Santini Plaza.
Nice job, Jim. You did that in 5 minutes, and that took you like 45 minutes the first time. But no, you were practicing.
And there he is.
Good job. Anything you want to add, Will?
No, thank you very much for having us on here
Appreciate
today.
you guys coming on.
Well, where are we in time, Ed?
Well, I have notified our affiliates we've gone over, so go ahead.
So maybe another day then?
Go right ahead.
I have just a historical point. I do this thing every once in a while called Flashback Fridays, where I'll shoot out a little message with a kind of a cool live music performance from the 40s, 50s, or 60s. And I did a piece the other day of Eddie Fisher and Andy Williams and Bobby Darin. They were doing a duet on the Andy Williams show, and I did a little research on Eddie Fisher, and he was a lead tenor in the Army chorus, which was based in Fort Myer, D.C. And I thought to myself, Fort Myer, D.C. Have you ever been to Fort Myer, Will?
Many times.
Many times. What is Fort Myer?
Fort Myer is the closest Army base to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. It's actually where the 3rd Infantry Regiment is. The honor guard that you see in all the ceremonies in Arlington National Cemetery is there.
Very good. So Fort Myer, though, is different than Fort Myers, obviously. And Fort Myers, I thought to myself, well, how did Fort Myers get its name? It's named after a guy named Colonel Abraham Myers. Colonel Abraham Myers is the son-in-law of a guy named General David Twiggs. And in 1850, Colonel Meyer was going to marry his General Twiggs's daughter, and as a pre-engagement party, General Twiggs, by the way, was stationed at Fort Myer, which was a kind of just a new fort on the Caloosahatchee River, did not have a name. So as an engagement present, General Twiggs names the fort after his future son-in-law, who he really liked. I was struggling with how he really liked him because General Twiggs's daughter was 15 and Colonel Myers was 42. But nonetheless, he named this fort after his son-in-law. The son-in-law, Colonel Myers, ended up being the Confederate quartermaster for the Confederate Army, and later lost his job because his wife made a comment about Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy, made a disparaging remark, so he lost his job. But the odd thing is, Colonel Myers, who Fort Myers was named after, never actually made it to Fort Myers, never saw Fort Myers that now the community is named after. So Fort Myers Beach, which is in essence sort of named after Fort Myers, was originally Crescent Beach. But Crescent Beach we're coming around. So Crescent Beach was the name of Fort Myers Beach, but there was another Crescent Beach in Tampa, and you can't have two the same name in the same state. So the post office asked us to change it. So eventually our fathers here and mothers on Fort Myers Beach changed it to Fort Myers Beach. So there you go.
Can we get a big hand for Will coming on the show today? And the vice mayor, everybody. Thank you guys very much for coming on. So, dear, are we going to make our big announcement today? Do you want to make the big announcement today, or do you want to wait? You know our announcement's going to be. Should we wait, or do we want to make it today? All right. All right. Sorry, folks. She doesn't want to make it today. I do need to tell you about our sponsors, and first of all, I want to thank everybody that showed up with a power cord today to try and make sure that my laptop didn't die while the show was going on. And right now, we are at 41%, so I'm surprised that a laptop lasted this long. And what was amazing is I don't know how many different size prongs people brought in today, but we can find one single prong that fit our laptop so that we can make sure that we didn't go off. But these amazing laptops last forever. This piece of equipment here that died on me yesterday cost me $800 yesterday. I hope she didn't hear that. And I still can't figure it out. The only thing that I like that's cool about this and why I won't send it back is because they've got this thing. I think I could figure out how to make it work where it makes you sound like Darth Vader. Where's my voice on the Darth Vader thing? Oh, wait, here. Hold on, guys. I got to read the ads here, but here we go. Ready? Darth, does it? Oh, see, now I can't even figure out how to make it work. All right, let me grab the other mic because I want to read the ads.
I'm coming over there.
All right. Is that better? All right. All right.
Everybody, there we go. There's my voice. Welcome to Wahoo Willie's, everybody. I hope you enjoy your lunch. Thank you to the town manager and the vice mayor for coming on. Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. We're going to play some music here. Too many pads to play with here. All right. There we go. We got a little music. All right. Thank you to all of our sponsors, everybody. Yes, Chris, I got the Rodecaster Pro 2. It's the Rodecaster Pro 2. And I think the speaker is too close. I don't know. I think the speaker is too close. We get feedback. We haven't been able to, I think my problem might be the speaker. I think I need one of those directional speakers because when I was at the Margaritaville pool and DJ was playing, like his speakers were close to each other and has all his equipment there. And I was like, how come you're not getting any feedback? Because he's got like a $1,200 speaker and I got, a $200 speaker. I don't know if turning it in that way would work. I don't know. Anyway, Tom Coleman from Eagle Eye Aluminum is one of our sponsors. By the way, everybody, we have our 7th anniversary tank tops here. If you want to support the show, all that money goes into Kim's hair fund. So thank you very much. We're having our 7th anniversary party at the Margaritaville Pool on the 10th of August. Thanks to Tom Coleman from Eagle Eye Aluminum for sponsoring the show today. 239-340-1639 is his phone number. Eagle Eye Aluminum takes care of all your gutters, your vinyl soffits and fascia repairs. Give Tom a call. He's usually here on Sunday, but I think he's out scuba diving today with his 7th wife. Also, Michael Stewart PE is one of our sponsors. Michael Stewart is a structural engineer. He designs any structure, residential or commercial. He sponsors everything we do. You should follow Michael Stewart on Facebook. Thank you, guys. You can see the videos that he puts together of the new construction that he's taking care of on Fort Myers Beach and everywhere in Southwest Florida. Give Michael Stewart a call at 239-292-7670. 239-292-7670. Or visit him online at mstewartpe.com. Thank you all for coming today, and you have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.